full swing Psyop operation as we speak. So a Psyop is currently going on all through the entire alliance of Sahel, actively, directly, or indirectly. Now, this PSYOP operation is being launched in collaboration with some local African media sources and through Western media channel against Mali, specifically against Burkina Faso. But we have not seen anything in Niger, but actively they're trying to destabilize Mali and Burkina Faso to manufacture consent and to kind of create a conspiracy theory that don't exist. And I'm going to be breaking down this psyop for you today, piece by piece, so that at the end of those broadcasts, you're going to be able to understand exactly what is currently going on in the AES territory and what is happening, and most importantly, who benefits from this manufactured destabilization campaign. Now, why this came to my attention, we don't put our noses in every issue, but I think, lately, yesterday I was going through one of the Pan-African Brothers channel, and I saw this brother made a video on why the intelligence chief of Burkina Faso is missing. And he articulated this information to the speech of Captain Ibrahim Traore, where he said there is no two captain on a ship. Now, what I'm doing today is not to dereputate the brother. It is just to educate the mind of a lot of people that you know you have to really really tighten your game, because we are now at a point where your credibility can be, can go in exchange for the publicity of certain Western media sources who have no information on the ground, but are after, like I've always said on this platform, that people are after the mind of an African man. What they give to you is not an information, is a weapon. So I'm going to give you three strands of this operation right now. Strand one, they are misrepresenting and misinterpreting Captain Ibrahim Traore landmark speech in Ouagia on July 16th. Now, what did they do? Now, strand two, they are fabricating a power struggle narrative. Strand one, they are trying to turn everything he said, which actually went global. Number one, they talked about how he wants to ban Sharia and destroy the Islamic culture. A lot of zombies started, they started marauding the whole place. Now they saw that, okay, they did not get the type of reaction they wanted to get. Now they've gone to the stage two, which is trying to fabricate a power struggle narrative within the internal, ministry of Burkina Faso. Now, you see, this struggle, this psyop, the second psyop, the first psyop was easily debunked because a lot of people can really, really see through. But this second one, I've seen some brothers falling for this second one. This is not just the beginning. This is not the beginning at all. It's in full swing, and you have to keep up, because if you don't keep up, you will just be a part of the train that is going to be pushing the propaganda. Now, they fabricate the power struggle, claiming the intelligence chief, who is Omari Yabre, has been arrested or has disappeared for political reasons in Burkina Faso. I'm going to quote a Western journalist who is an African, but is pro-Western to the point that he changed his African name and he adopted a name called Segi Daniel. A lot of French, Francophone speaking African people, they know this guy that I'm talking about. He changed his name. That is the extent of how you can feel Western. He changed his name to Segi Daniel, even that if that is not his real name. So he made this claim. He said General Celestin Simpore was arrested. He said there is a power struggle, that General Celestin Simpore is gaining too much popularity in Burkina Faso. Now he has come after Omaru Yabre, because Burkina Faso, the reality on the ground actually debunked everything he has been saying. And those people are not stopping. Once they make a propaganda and they see that it fails, they go after the second propaganda. Now, he said, Omari Yabre has been arrested or has disappeared for political reason, you know. And the strand three, they are trying to paint a picture of the government in chaos. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, General Celestin Simpore, the Minister of Defense, gave a comprehensive speech just yesterday, the 25th of July. He gave a comprehensive speech detailing that 75%, approximately, but he said 74.53% of Burkinabè's territory is now under government control. They are going strategically, they are going methodically. Now, is a man that is no longer trusted, a man that is, that is trying to destabilize the government. He will not be coming out to make that type of speech and address the Prime Minister of Burkina Faso. You see the contradiction. On one side, Western media says there is chaos in Burkina Faso, who don't even have no agents inside Burkina Faso. On the other side, the defense minister is presenting hard data on territorial recovery. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, somebody is lying. Obviously, somebody is lying, all right? And I think we all know who is lying at this point. So it is part of the Psyops, all right? So now let's go to what Traore said versus what they reported, because it is very, very important for us to understand. So July 16, 2026, Captain Traore arrived in Ouaguia in Yatenga, the footage, and I'm sure that many of you have seen it, all right? It shows he greeted 1,000 people. They were sharing eBay. Now, the genuine popular support was obvious from the bat. Now, you cannot fake that. You cannot stage that number of people to be... It is not this political up that a lot of politicians have paid a lot of people to put out people. No, that's not how it works. The Burkinabè people, I have confronted them. We've had our back and forth. The Burkinabè people really like me. We've had serious arguments. And I can see that those people, the love they have for Captain Ibrahim Traore is too genuine. And this is how he travels across the world. You have to be a certain type of person to hate Captain Ibrahim Traore, or to sit down and all you can think about is try to watershed the entire struggle of these people. And then he delivered a speech. Now, what did he actually say in that speech? He traced the story, all right, of global black oppression from centuries of enslavement through colonialism to the ongoing economic exploitation of the African continent. He gave a concrete example, the Nestu needle, right? Now, what did Captain Ibrahim Traore say? He said, ladies and gentlemen, that Nestle sells baby formula products in Europe without adding sugar. But the same Nestle products sold in African countries contain added sugar. That is not an accident. That is systematic. So this is what Traore was exposing. You see, that video, if you are a Western operative and you are not scared of that speech, that means you are not some real Western operative. When I listened to that statement, a lot of people were celebrating, but I knew that, okay, this was going to come back with something, and these are the return. They're trying to distort the information. They're trying to make it very grotesque, misinform people with the same information that is very, very popular. They can't stop the popularity and the publicity of that information. So what they're now trying to do now is to misinterpret the information to a lot of people. And it's going to be gradual. It's going to be systematic. All right. Now, after Traore exposed this, right? And what was the solution he gave? He said, let us produce what we consume here in Africa. Sovereignty, self-reliance, and economic independence. Now, what did the Western media do with the speech? They ignored the substance of the speech entirely. They did not report on the Nestle, scandal, right? The revelation that Traore gave about what they did against what, the original Nestle needle that they give in Europe, and what they bring to Africa is completely different. Why is the difference? If it's not original, don't do it. Don't push it to other people. These are not specimens. These are people's kids. So they did not discuss the historical analysis. Instead, they extracted one sentence about him being saying that Sharia will not work, hoping that the morons will react a certain way. Now, they pull out another sentence saying that Captain Ibrahim Traore calls himself the sole captain of the ship. which was about organizational discipline. That was what Captain Ibrahim Traore was trying to bring out in that statement. And they framed the entire speech as a warning against rivals. They turned the speech about African liberation into a story about infighting inside Burkina Faso. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the first tell. When they ignore your message and replace it with a narrative, it is not journalism. That is what you call Psyop. That's a great psychological operation. Now, the funny aspect of the whole thing is this is not new. This is a playbook, and we are going to get to that playbook bit by bit in this broadcast. All right. Now, let's go into the Yabre fabrication that they made just to let you believe that Captain Ibrahim Traore is losing power. You know, they just launched one, a direct psyop in Mali, but they're trying to make this indirect because they don't really have any clue about what is currently going on in Burkina Faso, except what is being produced on the Burkinabè media. How did they get this information? They have nobody on the ground. They have no communication, security compromise on Burkinabè authorities. They have no operational security compromise on the Burkinabè authorities. And that is why they are making this propaganda, and we are going to come with it in this information so that a lot of people can become, a lot of, bloggers can become very smart with their information. Now, the second information of the day with Omar Yabre, the head of National Intelligence Agency and the National Security Council, one of the most influential figures in Burkina Faso apparatus. Now, according to the information being circulated by AFP, African News, and several other outlets. Now, it was initially circulated by AFP and Africa News. Now, you see this several other media platforms. They are the guys, they are the common bloggers. Like, that brother that just joined them yesterday is one of the several outlets they're trying. And there is a reason. This thing is systematic. They don't just say several, because in the manuscript of journalism, when they say several sources, they're trying to legitimize that information. And there is a reason why they did it. Now, AFP, when you now ask the main source, which is AFP, where do you get this information from? They will say a source on the ground. Who is that source on the ground? They cannot. This is how you know that it's a sort of propaganda. But this is not just a propaganda. This particular one is a psyop. And there's a difference between the two. There's a difference between propaganda and psyop. It's very close, but it's different. Now, they said Yabre allegedly stopped going to his office, yet they have nobody on the ground. They said his security details have been cut substantially. They say he has not been seen in public since May. And from these claims, which, by the way, all trace back to a single unnamed, hear it again, a single unnamed security official. Now, they construct an entire narrative of power struggle, a coup within Burkina Faso. All right? They said there was chaos. But here is what they didn't tell you, ladies and gentlemen. Yabre has just been seen yesterday. Just the way you saw Celestine Simpore, Yabre has been seen yesterday carrying out his duties with escorts. Yesterday. You see, Burkina Faso just gave you that flash to know that, like, there is no coup here. We are not in your business. We are about building our nation. We are not in for propaganda. We're not trying to do some facade so that you think it is not about what you all think on the Western media. It is about what we think of ourselves. So Yabre coming out is just to tell the public they lie. You seeing Celestine Simpore coming out to bring out that statement yesterday is just saying they live by lie, they die by lies. So now this is very important to what we are doing, all right? Because yesterday it was saying working. The intelligence apparatus is working, is functioning. There is no vacuum anywhere. There's no power struggle anywhere. So what is going on here? This is a classic psyop technique, all right? You take a grain of truth. Maybe Yabre's security arrangements were adjusted for operational security. Now, why do you change your operational security? Let me explain something to you. You know, there was a man they targeted in Mali. I'm going to say this. Maybe his operational security was compromised. by a certain guy. They call him Abedi Pele. Every Malian listening to me, they know this guy. He was a former Malian officer that was retrenched from his duty. He was the one that compromised the operational security of General Sadio Kamara. So they were able to know that General Sadio Kamara, this is where he is. He is currently praying. All right. His security apparatus, this is where they will be. And it's because General Sadio Kamara was very, very free with this individual. So immediately they got his operational security compromised, they were able to launch the suicide bombing attack that took out, the blessed memory General Sadio Kamara, one of a man. He's just one of a kind on his own. You don't find two of those men in a lifetime. They're very, very different, very, very loyal. All right. So they are now trying to. So if General Sadio Kamara is a very consequential figure in Mali, they are trying to know where he is at all time. But they now have a problem in Burkina Faso. They don't know what is going on with this particular man called Omari Yabre. Go and look at every coup d'etat they've tried to plan in Burkina Faso before. There is always one man that makes sure that that coup fails. And that is Omari Yabre. I'm going to make a video about that man. So if you want to infiltrate Burkina Faso, you want to destroy Burkina Faso, who would you go after? The first man to go after would not just be Captain Ibrahim Traore. The man to go after would be Omari Yabre. Probably the both of them. The way they try to target Assimi Goïta and Sadio Kamara, they are looking at this guy, trying to track his movement, and they don't have what is going on with him. They don't have a good detail. So what they're trying to do now is to take a grain of truth. Maybe his security arrangement was adjusted for operational security. And I'm sure they have not been able to compromise his communication security. And you wrap it up in multiple layers of speculation, anonymous sources, omnious framing. Then you feed it to multiple outlets simultaneously. So suddenly, one unverified claim becomes multiple sources are reporting. Can you get the game? One anonymous, unverified framing. Just because you saw the news and you report it. I'm saying the news. I am reporting it. Another guy is saying the news. They will now say multiple sources are coming up with certain reports. So there are certain people that once they see multiple sources, they don't want to know if those sources are credible. All they want to know is multiple sources. Ladies and gentlemen, that right there is what they call Psyop. All right? Now, suddenly, when they make this, especially the target audience, it's not the Burkinabè audience, because they be seeing Omari Yabre from time to time. The target audience, especially, is the international audience, the families in diasporas, the mothers and the fathers, the brothers, the sisters in diasporas. All right, the young teenager that is looking at Captain Ibrahim Traoré, looking at a new evolution in Africa. I'm a revolution in Africa and looking at it like, you know what, this is, we might even be a part of this in the future. They want to send a message across to the mind of these people, because if you notice, there is a synergy between the Africans at home and the Africans in diaspora, and that's the big problem. So the target is not me. The target is just another brother that does not have, that access to original information. So they want you to believe that there is something going on in Burkina Faso, that Burkina Faso is not stable. But ask yourself, if you're fighting terrorism and you are reclaiming 74.53% of your territory, do you announce the movement of your top intelligence chief to the press? Or do you protect its operational security? Of course not. All right. So the fact that we don't know exactly where Yabre is every single day is called operational security, which is something they know. But what they're doing now is that they feel like a lot of African people are not aware of this. But I'm making you aware of it now. I'm putting it to your notice now. What you are seeing right there, not seeing certain people every day, is called operational security. A lot of people will say, Assimi Goita have not spoken. After the attack, they were saying, we've not seen Assimi Goita. And suddenly, when nobody was expecting, you saw Assimi Goita. That is called operational security and communication security. When they don't know what you're about to do next, you disorganize them, you destabilize them, you rattle them, you tell them that they're not ready. So this is what is currently going on in Burkina Faso. It is not an evidence of power struggle. It is called operational security. They are trying to create a story where none exists. Now, credit to General Celestin Simpore yesterday, July 25th, 2026. The Minister of Defense presented his mid-year report to the Prime Minister, Rimtala James Emmanuel Ouedraogo, and he numbered what is going on, all right? No, everybody knows Omari Abre. Everybody knows him because each and every time there is a foiled coup d'etat, you always see the picture of Omari Abre right there. Burkina Faso has a very, very sophisticated intelligence apparatus. They can just leave you, to move a little bit forward so that they can know how much, the brachial plexus of your coup plotters. They want to know how much anastomosis you have, how far the link runs. But I'm telling you, they know what you're doing. There is no way a lot of coup has been launched against Burkina Faso, and each and every one of this coup was fought almost before it started. So, so if you want to launch a coup against Burkina Faso, would you be trying to attack the same man you've not been able to capture? You would try to go for the apparatus first. The apparatus behind the revelation of every plan that you've made in the past that have failed. And that is where Omari Abre comes in. So if there is a shakeup around Omari Abre, they don't know his movements, they don't see him, is that not a signal that the operational security of this man is so consequential that Burkina Faso is making it a top secret? So 74%, they said 74.73% of Burkinabè territory is now under government control. That is up to, that is from up to 73.56 in December 2025. The Defense Ministry has achieved 53.14% of its 2026 objective in terms of security, and we are only halfway through the year. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, another over 200 cadets have just been churned out from the Burkinabè Defense School. So they are now going to be serving the country. What was beautiful about the event? Captain Ibrahim Traore, he graced the occasion. A lot of top Burkinabè personnel graced the occasion. But the most consequential part was they did not wear no Western ceremonial attire. Ladies and gentlemen, those brothers were on our native African attire. So the ceremonial dress of the Burkinabè military is not what you expect in Western media. If you look at Nigeria ceremonial dress, it's Western copied, it's British copied. If you look at most countries right now in the world, they don't have their original ceremonial dress. Burkina Faso just came out with an African ceremonial dress for their military. You see, when we talk about sovereignty, it goes to it goes to the smallest detail. Now, come to think of it, Burkina Faso is making sure that it is not just the raw material and no, they are not just doing that. It is reclaiming the identity mentally and in every part. If we know we can do it, then let's do it. So the question is, this particular ceremony of the Burkinabè military that is coming out, that ceremonial dress alone will send shockwave to the Western, intelligence and their security apparatus, because one of the biggest tools they use, go and check the letter of Eric Kissinger, go and check the letter of King Leopold. One of the things they said was that they have to destroy the African identity. After they visited Africa, they said, we have to destroy this identity. These people are not poor. These people don't steal. These people don't even tell lies. So one of the tools we have to use is to tell them that everything that belongs to them is evil. and they have to only embrace our own culture. So when there is a country, there is an head of state that challenge every of those Western interests, what do you expect? The Psyop is just the smallest of it all. Now, you see, here is the quote verbatim from General Celestine Simpore. There is no part of our territory that our defense and security forces cannot enter. We can operate anywhere in the country, and we are doing so. This is not a statement of a government in chaos. This is a statement of a military leadership consumed. This is not a statement of a military leadership that is consumed by infighting. This is a statement of a defense establishment that is methodically and systematically reclaiming its territory. So here's the question, ladies and gentlemen: is everything is falling apart in Burkina Faso? If Western media are really, really serious, and as Western media want you to believe, then how is the defense minister standing before the prime minister and presenting the detailed metrics of progress on the battlefield? How is the territorial control increasing? How is the economic sovereignty improving? How is the gold output eclipsing that of last year, which a lot of people are saying is astronomical? So, how are residents returning to their homes in northern Burkina Faso? How are the supply lines being restored? How is the road construction going on? How are new hospitals multiplying? These are the big questions we need to be asking. Is it power struggle? That is what they want you to believe. All right? So the answer is simple. The narrative is false. The government is functioning. The military is advancing. And the Psyop is designed to make you believe otherwise. That is the point. Now, I want you to understand something. All right? What we are seeing right now, these three strands, the Traore speech destruction, the Yabre fabrication, the chaos narrative, this is not an amateur work. This is the text. This is the very, very perfected textbook psychological operation that is launched by probably multiple Western intelligence agencies and in coordination with their governments. A Psyop, by definition, is a planned operation to convey selected information to a target audience to influence their emotion, motives, and reasoning, and ultimately to influence the behavior of governments and population. And when you look at who has most to lose from a stable, sovereign Burkina Faso, the answer is clear. Burkina Faso expelled French forces. They cut diplomatic ties with France on June 2026, 26th. It is building alliance of Sahel states with Mali, Niger, and they are moving forward. And they have said this year is the year of consolidating on, their economy. Are you aware that they've just rejected the eco currency because the Senegalese president proposed to them to join? Let us have a common currency. Okay, even if you are going to have you are going to have your own independent bloc, let us have a common currency. The AES country said no, we are not interested in the eco. The Senegalese president is not backing down. Bashiru Diomaye Faye said on the 29th of this month, which is just some days to come, that he's going to be visiting Mali personally. What does that tell you? That the failures are not trying to back down easily. So the Psyop is there. You just see somebody spring up from God knows where. It will say certain things that is counterproductive, and they will put a lot of traffic behind it. It's Psyop, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you see, the thing is this. Burkina Faso cut diplomacy with the European Union and with France. And it is pursuing relationship with Russia, China, and other non-Western partners like Iran too. And Captain Traore specifically called out AFRICOM, the US military's Africa Command, for spreading misinformation about Burkina Faso's international partnership and gold reserves. So when a government challenges the Western-dominated international order, what happens? I will tell you what happens. The media machine activates. The anonymous sources appear from God knows where, and they give a lot of legitimacy to these things. They start calling terrorists rebels. They start calling them freedom fighters. Satellite image start showing up from God knows where. They start telling you some of the things that you are importing into your country based on the fact that they are now collaborating with some coastal countries. Why do you think Russian soldiers now are trying to have a port in Equatorial Guinea, like a military port in Equatorial Guinea and Togo? If you go and look at the recent graduation of the cadets in Burkina Faso today, do you know the flag of the country I saw? Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. I saw Guinea flag. I saw Togo flag. And I think I saw one other country. That is to tell you that the axis of resistance is increasing gradually. Either they like it or not. The proof is out there before us. So, ladies and gentlemen, when a government challenges this unipolar order, and suddenly you start seeing a different misinformation emerging from God knows where, all right? And a country that is making real progress on the ground is portrayed internationally as unstable, as being the epicenter of whatsoever they want to call it, dangerous, illegitimate. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not speculation. This is a documented pattern. And I'm going to give you 5 concrete historical examples, all right? Because I want us to be backing up everything we are doing on this platform with history now, so that a lot of people can know, you can appreciate the message we're trying to push out there, right? Iraq 2003. The Bush administration justified invasion of Iraq by claiming that Saddam Hussein possessed weapon of mass destruction and had ties to terrorism. Both claims were later proven false. They went there for the gold of Iraq. So no weapon of mass destruction was ever found in Iraq. The intelligence was manipulated. The media amplified the message. So you should know that the media is not complacent. It is complicit in all of these things. So their media is also part of the war that is being waged towards you. I've said this many times on this platform, that information to the African mind is not information. It is a weapon. It is not being pushed. It is like information to an African mind. It's like this. So they are shooting that information into your mind, hoping that your consciousness dies. Information to an African mind is a bullet meant to kill the consciousness of an African mind. That is the message I'm pushing out there. And I want to use this opportunity to thank YouTube a little bit, because there was some there was some Western application. Immediately they saw 3 of my information. They felt like, no, this will be too dangerous for us. So even if YouTube is struggling a little bit with me, we are still going to say thank you to YouTube. so so they didn't find any weapon of mass destruction in Iraq. So the intelligence was manipulated, all right? The media amplified it, and the result was a war that cost hundreds of thousands of lives and destabilized an entire region. This was not an intelligence failure, ladies and gentlemen. It was a psychological operation designed to manufacture public consent for war. That's the first thing. Now, what public are they are trying to target both the local public and the international public. Now, number 2, 1964, the Gulf of Tonkin incident. The US claimed that North Vietnamese forces attacked American destroyers in Gulf of Tonkin. This was used as a pretext to escalate the Vietnamese war. All right? But the classified document later revealed that the second attack, the one that was used to justify the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, was never actually in existence. It never happened. The National Security Agency they intercepted their own ship. They showed no North Vietnamese order for an attack. The US attacked itself. All right? And the incident was exaggerated with their media. They would distorted the information and use it to drag Americans into war that killed millions. Patrice Lumumba, Congo, 1961. Lumumba was the first democratically elected prime minister of Congo. All right? He believed in African sovereignty and control over Congolese resources that continue to be plundered today with an imperialist called Felix Tshisekedi. Imperialist has no color. The CIA orchestrated his removal and assassination. They worked with Belgian intelligence and some local lackeys. All right? They funded his political opponents. They spread propaganda. They portrayed him as a communist threat. And he was captured, tortured, executed at the age of 35, dissolved his body in acid. Only his tooth was left. His bones, everything was destroyed. The Psyop was, Lumumba is dangerous. The reality was, Lumumba was sovereign. And you can see what is going on in Congo today with Ebola and all other type of weapon. They have not been free since then. But the operation, the Psyop back then was that we are going to save the Congolese people from Patrice Lumumba. Are you safe to this day? Gaddafi, Libya, 2011, NATO intervention. The narrative presented to the world was that Muammar Gaddafi was about to commit a massacre in Benghazi. They even made movies about it that some people still watch to this day. All right? And that NATO intervention was necessary to protect civilians in Libya. Ladies and gentlemen, the narrative was later exposed as highly exaggerated. Gaddafi was overthrown. Libya was destroyed. And the country remained in chaos to this day. The Psyop turned a complex internal conflict into a simple good versus evil story. And the consequence was the destruction of the most developed nation in Africa at that time. The most economically stable African country at that time. And do you know why they told on themselves? When America with their allies carry out this nasty operation, they always come back to tell on themselves so that you know. Do you know why? It's another layer of mental warfare to let you know that we are letting you know this story. We are telling you that we did it, even though it's supposed to be classified. We are letting you know so that if you grow some iron balls some days to try the same thing, this is what is going to happen to you. We are always going to find traitors among you. That is the message. So you get the story? So now, Operation Mockingbird, the CIA media program. This is arguably the grandfather of all modern Psyop. The CIA recruited journalists, editors, and media executives across major American news organizations, including the New York Times, the CBS, and Time magazine, to push agency narrative. The Church Committee in 1970 confirmed the program's existence. It was real. And why specific operations were supposedly terminated, the architecture, the relationship, the methodologies, the understanding that media can be weaponized for geopolitical objective. The architecture never went away, it evolved. Now you see patterns, ladies and gentlemen. In every case, the formula is the same. You identify a leader or a government that threatens Western interests. You manufacture a narrative. You talk about chaos, danger, instability, infighting. You feed the narrative through multiple media sources simultaneously to create the illusion of a consensus. That since multiple media are talking about it, it has to be true. You know, there is this foolish philosophical statement that out of every lie there is a truth. Some lies are lies from the beginning to the end. Who fabricated that? Who gave you that? Who gave you that philosophy? That from every lie there is an atom of truth in it. There is no truth here. Who taught you? Who gave you that? Who gave you that psychology? Who gave you that philosophy? It was not written by our ancestors. So why should you accept it? It's like people have been cornered to a point where any information that is being given to them, they just accept it because we're African, we have to accept it. I'm not part of them. I'm not one of them. And I can beat my chest any day, anytime that the kind of information I give out you hardly find this type of information, like the level of delivery, the raw truth. You hardly can find it anywhere. Now, the methodologies, right? The understanding that the media can be weaponized for geopolitical objective, it never went away. So when you see the pattern, you definitely know what is going on. All right. So they manufacture consensus to justify intervention, whether military, economic, or diplomatic. You saw the consensus they manufactured in Mali that, okay, we want to help you to fight JNI. Buy American weapons, only American weapons. We have the hardware. Allow American companies to come in. Make America your trade partner. We are the only one you can trust. What does that have to do with an Al-Qaeda affiliate? Where is the headquarters of Al-Qaeda? So that's a conversation for another day. So what is happening in Burkina Faso right now fits this pattern perfectly. So ladies and gentlemen, here is where we stand on this information. And this is my warning to those people that don't do their research. They don't do their homework. They are not, and it's not that they are clueless. I think they are just lazy. Some of them want to jump on the bandwagon. You know, Captain Ibrahim Traore delivering a speech about African liberation and economic sovereignty, and Western media turned the story into an infighting inside Burkina Faso. Omari Yabre is carrying out his duty, but anonymous sources are telling you that he has disappeared. General Celestin Simpore stood before the Prime Minister yesterday and presented hard data showing that 74.53% of Burkinabè territory is now under state control, and 53% objective has been achieved. And this does not make the headline. It never made the headline. So that's called Psyop. The Psyop is not designed to convince you of anything specific. It is designed to make you doubt everything that is going on in Burkina Faso, to create a fog of uncertainty, to make you question whether the government is really stable or not, whether the leadership is united, whether the progress is real. Because if you doubt, if you hesitate, you don't support. And if you don't support, the revolution gets isolated. So they want to manufacture a sort of doubt in the mind of the people. But here is the thing. The revolution in Burkina Faso is not isolated. The people are mobilized. The military is advancing. The AES is consolidating at the truth. All right? The truth that General Celestin Simpore presented yesterday, the truth that Captain Ibrahim Traore spoke in Ouaguia, that the truth that Yabre continues to serve the country at the highest capacity. The truth is getting out. Our job is to make sure that the truth becomes faster and the truth gets to you before their lies get to you. Because sometimes you can't underestimate the power of a Psyop. Now, what do you think about that? And I'm not going to call out those brothers that are getting information from Western sources. Please. My own opinion is that do your homework, do your research, do better for yourself, do better for your reputation, do better for the people. Don't trade your credibility for publicity. You know, I know that some of you are not after money or whatsoever. Some of you are after, you are after Pan-African sovereignty. But it questions your credibility and it questions your level of education. You know, I'm talking about not paper education. I'm talking about the education of your mind. If you go out there and you are saying that there is a disappearance, you are following the narrative intentionally. Because before you can go to that extent of saying that the topmost intelligence chief in Burkina Faso is just disappeared for nothing, it means that they manufacture the consent and you intentionally, you accepted the consent, and you just did not accept it. You dish it out to a lot of people. Meanwhile, most of those people, some of them rather, they are naive. Some of them want to be believers, but they have their own doubts. Many people ask me, Andre, have you seen certain information? Because even though you tell them the truth, they are not satisfied. They still go out there for further information. They come back and you be like, do you see these things? I don't reply most of the time because I feel like, there is no point in replying. But when I see certain sources bringing out certain information to further back up propaganda, I need to speak up. And this is why I'm talking about this. So the fact that you've gotten this information, please help us give this information to as many people that need to listen to it as possible. The fight have just started. Let me tell you something. They have seen that on the battlefield, the Burkinabè forces, when it comes to standoff conventional warfare, the Burkinabè forces cannot be stopped right now. Over 200 active officers have just been, from the military academy, have just been turned out. Not just that, more than 25,000 VDP are ready for mobilization again. Remember the last time, multiple VDP were ready for mobilization. Now, more VDPs are coming out again. So that is to tell you that you see, now, and let me now bring something out to you, family. This is the thing. Do you know how you know that Burkina Faso have just conquered more territories? Every territory that is conquered in Burkina Faso has its own VDP, its own rapid intervention brigade. Andre have said this multiple times. I don't know if anybody have ever told you this. You can see that there is a new VDP being mobilized. They have just graduated some new cadets yesterday. Now, those cadets are not going to be in offices. They're going to be on the field. That is the Rapid Intervention Brigade. Now, that Rapid Intervention Brigade will be for this new, do you get what I mean? They will be in this new territory that have just been conquered. And they will now move some advanced elite combatants, maybe from the BIR-7 or from the Fossatec. They might move 1 or 2 or 3. They will now be the guys to oversee the training, because now it's experiential. It has to be on the line of contact. You learn under the fire now. So they will bring those very experienced veterans. They will bring them in to lead this battalion, come together with the VDP, work as a unit. Burkina Faso moves on. Thank you so much, family. Burkina Faso moves on. So this is the situation in Burkina Faso from inside outside. Burkina Faso is expanding. How come? How do you think that you want to attack multiple theaters of operation in Burkina Faso? It's not possible. You cannot. The security will engulf you. From region to region, you have instant backup. So let's say you launch 10 different attacks in Burkina Faso. They will still overwhelm you. They have the numerical advantage. They have the operational capability. They don't just have the equipment. They have mastered the maneuverability of those equipment. They have adapted their warfare system to those equipment. Bringing equipment to Burkina Faso is not just equipment. The capability of an equipment is already there physically. But now the total effectiveness of that equipment is based on the officers that are going to be in command control of those equipment. The mechanized battalion that are going to be using those equipment. How good are they? What terrain? Do they understand? Burkina Faso is on a different level, families. And the proof is out in the pudding. Show me a video recently, in the past 3 months, where you saw a Burkinabè massacre. You don't see it. And this type of situation, people learn on the fly. After the Titao attack, can you show me one more attack? Burkina Faso soak it in. They improvise. They improvise. They adapt, and they respond very quick. So, with all this progress, the Western media want you to believe that, okay, there's a power struggle in Burkina Faso. When they no longer have any legitimate information that holds any sort of credibility, they start making it look like a movie. We are not here for movie. We are here for real business. So, ladies and gentlemen, please kindly do well to hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And for those that cannot watch the video at a stretch, you can revisit during the day. The informations are very, very valuable, and it will benefit a lot of people. I mean, the people that needs to hear the truth. so that they can balance their mind properly, so that they can prepare. This is no longer you just giving information. Do you know why our information space is being attacked currently? Because for the first time in Africa, African media sources are not just ordinary again. They are not just, there was a time if you want to give out information, you have to visit BBC Africa, you have to visit Al Jazeera English, you have to visit BBC English, and all of those propaganda, channels that have no reputation. They only project the interest of their deep state for geopolitical interests. Now that Africa has evolved on the media space, we want a lot of those brothers to also evolve with the time. And our evolution is adaptational. It is not static. It is constant. You can see me tomorrow, the type of information I'm going to give, the way I'm going to react is going to be different from this way. We respond to the current reality on the ground. We don't follow a pattern. You can see us move in this direction. We are moving in this direction tomorrow. So that's the difference about us. We are intelligent people. Let nobody say no more to you or tell you anything less. So, families, at this point, I want to wish you all farewell, and I want to wish you all peace, love, and blessing. Love is the ultimate rule. Respect and love at all times. Stay dangerous because your life depends on it. I need you today. I need you tomorrow. And we need you as far as we continue in this journey. For as long as we can go, we need everybody. So thank you and God bless you. I want to thank By Design. I want to thank Omaketa. I want to thank Cabo Short Short. I want to thank Mr. Melio. Ashisha Beda. Man, you've been here for how many years? I can't count. For as long as the Android community has been here, those people have been here. And you keep supporting the project. You keep supporting our work, we really, really want to appreciate. Oh, Dre Fidi, I really, really want to appreciate you. I see you. The thumbnail never changed. Everything never changed. I want to thank everyone for supporting us. Please make sure that a lot of people have been alerted about this information, because I've been seeing some brothers. They are stepping with wobbly legs on their credibility, so they don't have to do it. This is not a shot at them. This is just me telling them to tighten up their defenses, because it's going to get worse. All right. So this is just the reality. It's going to get worse. You are doing a fantastic job already. I can see your work. There's a reason why I visit your channels, because I know you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And I just have to be, we just have to keep shoulder to shoulder. All right. Nobody is the best. We just have to make sure that you don't fall for the propaganda. And the people, as an extension of our work, they shouldn't fall for the propaganda, because a lot of people are relying on them too to get valid information about us. So thank you and God bless you. Salute. Mr. Nelson.